quiet town, the killer clown. Can a group of outcasts stop this demonic force before it destroys them all? All this can only mean one thing. We're comparing It and It Chapter 1 on this episode of Retro versus Remake. I'm Reggie Parker.
And I'm Dan Farley. And we all float down here. We all float down here.
And this is Retro versus Remake.
Oh!
A series where we watch movies and the remakes, compare them, figure out, should this remake exist?
Should it?
Jumping right in, It 1990, which was actually more of a
Mini-series.
Mini-series, right? They made it a movie, so...
Two-part mini-series.
Let's see, for the portion that we're doing, we're going to talk about the characters as children, so we'll stay in that range right now. But starring Tim Curry, Jonathan Brandis, Brandon Crane, Adam Farisi, Seth Green.
Seth Green.
Seth Green, right?
Young Seth Green looked like he's fresh out of Weezer.
Straight up. Ben Heller, Emily
Yeah.
Perkins, and Marlon Taylor.
Nah, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyone else in this show was
You know how it is.
know exactly how it is.
Directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, adapted from Lawrence D. Cohen, who did screenplay. It 2017. Starring Bill Skarsgård, Jada Martell, Finn Wolfhard, Sophia Lillis, Jeremy Ray Taylor, Chosen Jacobs, Jack Dylan Grazer, Wyatt Olaf, Nicholas Hamilton, and Jake Sim.
He wolfs so hard, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, that's fine.
Directed by Andy.
Villanakis?
I wish. Andy Muschietti. The writers were Chase Palmer, Kerry Joji Fukunaga, and others apparently. And to your point, both these films were adapted from the Stephen King novel of the same name that was written in 1986.
1986. It was a fine year. The Mets won the World Series. I was 2. Yeah, that's it. That's all I know about 1986.
I was negative 2.
-2.
I was negative 2 at the time. So was that. Yeah, what's your first experience with these films?
The first one, I remember watching it when I was a child. I remember seeing it on TV when it was out, and then I watched it later. I was with an ex, and it was on Halloween or around Halloween, which is around the time when you'd be watching this. And I realized that I could do a pretty decent Tim Curry impression.
Nice.
And it freaked her out, so naturally I would do it constantly to her.
That's who you are.
That's who I am. I'm an asshole. And it'd be like intimate times, be laying in bed, like, oh, happy anniversary. And I'd lean over and say, we all float down here. We all float down. And she'd get weirded out and then run away. And I'd be like, well, we're watching the game now. And then I took her to see it at the movie theater, a packed movie theater, and it was kind of a retro, no pun intended for this podcast, a retro feeling of like I was there with a girl and she was like holding on to my arm and it was like scary and she was like holding on and I was like, this is cool. I liked it, and I haven't had that feeling since. So it was good when I saw that in the movie theater. Yeah. So those are mine. What about yours, Reggie?
Yeah, my first time watching these films was for this podcast. It's a kind of running theme that I'm not really like a horror film guy in this show, so like
I'm not either.
Yeah,
a little bit, I guess.
I never saw the docu-series, I guess, because I was negative 2 when the book came out.
Yeah.
And because I wasn't familiar with the miniseries, I never watched the new It film.
Yeah.
I knew people seemed to like it or whatever, or
yeah.
talking about it, but yeah, it wasn't really my bag.
Yeah, okay. I read the book when I was a kid after the miniseries came out.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big book, by the way, guys. If you're ever reading at home, it's like 1,300 pages. It's
Really?
a long book, and it gets so much weirder in the book on 1,000 different levels that they kept making references to the movie.
Right.
That, like, it's like, oh, that's cool because I know that because I remember it from the book. Like, oh, that makes sense, but they never really explain it, so it's kind of just a stupid Easter egg in there, and you're like, okay. Like the turtle in in chapter 1. It's like he has the Lego turtle in Georgie's room. In the books, the turtle is like, it's like this eternal struggle between these two beings, it and the turtle. The turtle is like a celestial being that has the entire universe on his shell.
Okay.
And basically he's all that is good and it is all that is bad.
Interesting.
And it's an eternal struggle, but they make like reference to that, but they never really, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Stephen King for you, man.
Stephen King. It's like, man, how much coke did you do?
He did a lot.
He did a lot. The answer was all of it.
A lot. 1 second. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that the entire time. I was like, how much coke?
Yo, my God,
Did he
to
do
come
it?
up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into it, but I feel like the remake draws more from the book in terms of like different like rituals and stuff like that.
Yes.
That's awesome. That aren't really in the original, but I guess we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Nice.
No, yeah, let's play good cop, bad cop on this one.
Let's do it.
Honestly,
break down
it's just because of the sun.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. I'll break down the synopsis and then we can just dive right into this.
Break down. Let's dive in. What do you think? Let's go crazy.
Let's break it down.
Let's get floaty.
In the town of Derry, the local kids are disappearing one by one. In a place known as the Barrens, a group of 7 kids are united by their horrifying and strange encounters with an evil clown and their determination to kill it. That's about all you need.
Yeah.
There's some bullying in
There's
there.
some bullying.
There's some family trauma in there. But ultimately, it's about kids who have dubbed themselves basically the losers.
The Loser Club.
Mm-hmm. The Loser Club and how they struggle against a shape-shifting clown that has been picking off kids in their town.
Yes.
One by one, including one of their brothers. So.
Including one of their brothers, which is a great opening, how both of these open.
Yeah.
Which is Georgie, the younger brother of Bill, the main protagonist, I guess.
Sure.
Who, you know, believe it or not, grows up to be a writer. But I'm going to digress. That he's a stand-in for Stephen King. And Georgie, he makes a paper boat, which, I don't know, have you ever made a paper boat to, like, do that?
I've, like, done a paper boat before. I don't think I've ever done.
Like,
exactly
I
that.
never have. But they both, in both renditions, they both have a yellow raincoat, and they follow the boat down the stream, falls into a sewer grate, where Pennywise, the mutant clown, is waiting.
That's helpful that she.
Yes.
She's a mutant clown.
Mutant clown, or whatever the hell he is waiting for Georgie.
Yeah. In 1990, Georgie's played by Tony Dakota, which, whatever.
With, you might be familiar with his brother's work, North, and his other brother's work, South.
That's phenomenal shit.
Thank you.
In our 2017 film, Georgie is played by Jackson Robert Scott. So, I mean, just getting into that Georgie scene, they both...
Yeah, I was just going to say, in both movies, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
It really is great. It really, I think might be the best part of all of it.
Yeah.
Is that opening scene in both movies.
That
introduction. Yeah, that introduction. Because it starts off, it's such a playful thing of this kid playing in the rain. And he's also neglecting all the construction that's going on and the stuff that's actually dangerous for a kid to be running through.
Right.
And in fact, I think in the new one, doesn't he whack his head? He whacks his head into like a board.
I think he might. Yeah.
Yeah. He there's a street stopper, and he whacks his head into it, and while he's chasing the boat, which it's a different time, guys. Some of us didn't have iPads growing up. We used paper boats. I never did, but doesn't mean people did it.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
There's like a subtle, it's not really subtle, but there is a change between the two films. The original takes place when they're kids. It's 1969.
Yes.
In Derry, Maine. And, yeah, love that. Summer 69, baby.
Summer 69.
And for the newer film, it's 1989.
Yes.
These kids are coming up. So.
1989. Which I think it does work. But the only thing I don't like about that whole aspect is it feels like it's trying to cash in on nostalgia of the people that are going to see it.
Right, that's fair.
You know, like it's like cashing in the Stranger Things nostalgia. Also, you have the kid from Stranger Things in the show, in the movie, I mean. Which is, and granted, he plays the complete opposite of what he does.
Sure.
He still looks like that kid, even though now in the new Stranger Things, he does look like a ghoul.
Yeah.
He is a ghoulish looking man. But in these...
I think you're right that they are cashing in on like that nostalgia because there's like a New Kids on the Block reference.
Yeah.
That's going throughout the film, and
like Lethal Weapon is playing at the movie theater.
Right.
And like all that stuff, like it's just like, oh, look at this. Wasn't time simpler? But it's almost like if you're going to do 1969, the racism makes much more sense.
Right.
Not that there wasn't racism in 1989, because we fixed it in 1981.
Oh, sure.
But it's been solved forever. Long time ago. But the fact that, like, if you're going to bring in the race card, it was so much more prevalent in 1969 than it was in 1989. Not that it wasn't, but I feel like people already were like, ugh, I shouldn't say that. I feel it, but I'm not going to say it. Like,
yeah, like that extra layer of like, there wouldn't really be a lot of repercussions for them fucking a black kid. Like, it's just, sign of the times, really.
Yeah, sign of the times.
But you're right, like, the racism doesn't work on the same level if it's 1989.
No,
like,
absolutely not.
Close.
It's just, I do think, like, and it kind of adds a whole other element to his bike. Like, just like, in the miniseries and the movie, the bikes are pretty much the same.
Right.
So it's like the 60s bike, which makes sense in the 60s, but in like 1989, even if you have the same bike, it's almost like, oh, are you just that poor?
Right,
like,
right.
I don't understand. Like, why do you have this shitty bike?
That bike.
Don't you have a Huffy White Heat you could get?
You would think. Yeah, that's the thing. There's different elements of sort of the source material that I guess, I think overall things still kind of play, but like there are these moments where it's a little awkward.
Yeah.
That it's 1989.
Yeah, it's not that I think it's bad. It's not, because you gotta. I mean, who's going to see the movie? People that were like kids in 1969 are not going to be like, dude, we gotta go see the new It.
Right.
We gotta go check it out. No, it's people like me who was like, oh, I remember 1989, kinda.
Yeah.
I went to go see the Indiana Jones movies and whatever.
They were great.
Yeah, and Ghostbusters 2 and Batman. But that's like, I guess I can accept it though. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal because you want to make it in the present time. But then I feel like some of this stuff kind of gets like, I mean, we could get into the present time later, but now that you have like technology and stuff, not only does technology remove some kind of the mysticism of the whole journey of whatever it is they're doing.
Right.
It's really not the same if like we're on our way to battle a demon and I could be on Instagram like at the same time, like putting it on our story. It's not really the same, like, ooh, tension.
That's a great point. There's different technology they opt out of. Like,
yeah.
A big part of both of the films is whatever control this clown. I guess we could just talk about it.
Yes.
In 1990. Pennywise, the dancing clown.
The dancing clown.
Is played by Tim Curry.
Tim Curry. I'm sorry. Portrayed phenomenally by Tim Curry.
Oh, come on, bucko. Don't you want a balloon?
I'm not supposed to take stuff from strangers. My dad said so.
Very wise of your dad, Georgie. Very wise indeed.
True. And with a different approach to Pennywise, but one I can respect. You got Bill Skarsgård,
yes,
who does Pennywise in the 2017 film.
Here, take it. Take it, Georgie.
you mentioned like the Georgie scene. When you get introduced to both of them, that intro, like you said, makes
Yeah.
films. Like if you don't land Pennywise, none of this works.
Yes.
And in 1990, there's some budget constrictions and other things that make the film not the greatest
No.
piece of cinema.
No.
But what they do get right is this intro to Pennywise.
Oh.
Tim Curry just.
Which I think I would argue that the intro of the two of them, Tim Curry's intro is so much better
Yeah.
than his because don't get me wrong, Tim Curry in this movie is extremely creepy.
Right.
Extreme, but when you first see him, he's not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that would bring the kid in. Like, whereas Skarsgård looks like a monster.
Right.
Like he looked like. Don't talk to the clown in the sewer, like
Right.
that guy. Whereas like Pennywise might be like, "Oh, that's okay, Georgie." And
Right.
it might lure an 8-year-old in there that he might say like, "Oh, this guy looks okay."
You don't know what you're getting, right?
Not at
Like,
all. He's so confusing.
right, because he is sort of almost like affable. Like you could see yourself having a conversation with this guy. It'd be weird as hell, but
Yes.
it's not like immediately like, oh, that's a monster. It's
Yeah.
like, I am confused why there's a clown in the sewer, with Tim Curry's voice.
Yes.
But then when it allows him to switch from that like not menacing into the menacing.
Into the menace, it's almost more. It's more petrifying.
Yes.
That he does because it was like luring you in with like a false sense of comfort.
Mhm.
Because he's like, oh, we just floated down here. We could all. You want the boat, Georgie? Where it's like, hey, Georgie, it's
Right.
like, this guy's gonna eat you.
Yeah.
This guy's clearly gonna eat you.
I think that's one advantage 1990 has is that because
Tim Curry?
Yes, Tim Curry, but because of that tone, right, they can fall in and out of like scenes where like, you don't have to be on edge the whole time, right?
No.
You can kind of sit back and take it in, and then subtly something could trigger like, wait a minute, something's off.
Yes.
There are moments like that in that first film. I felt like 2017, this Georgie scene, they just go all in off the top. Pennywise is immediately scary.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, isn't this fucked up?
It is fucked up. He
Yeah.
rips the kid's arm off. You see it,
You see it.
and like they don't pull punches on that
No.
scene. Like there's a kid, one arm's like trying to drag his body through the street before
Yeah.
the clown sucks him back in, and it's like that tone shift is definitely to me the biggest difference between these two films.
Oh, incredibly. Because you'll say that too. Like it comes back later that like he toys with them,
Right.
But like the way he toys with them as Tim Curry does, it's like a playful. It's like playfully like eerie.
Yeah.
Whereas like he's staring at him like with the dead eyes, like through like all these balloons, like all this freaky shit that it's like, oh, this is terrifying. But it's almost more terrifying because he's not terrifying.
Right.
You know, like Tim Curry's not terrifying. That it's almost like, oh, okay, well this is fine. Like it's that makes it so much creepier.
To me, that is the scariest part about Tim Curry's character is that he floats in and out of that range.
Yeah.
And like it is more unsettling for me
Oh.
to have this
absolutely.
thing that I don't understand. And it's a long movie, so you'll get time to
Yeah.
understand what's going on. But like, why is this happening? Like, who? Like, you really ask the question, who is Pennywise? Versus 2017. I don't really need to know who Pennywise is. This guy's like a maniacal killer clown, and he doesn't have that. Especially in Chapter 1, I don't think he has that switch on and off. It's like it's always on.
Yeah.
I'm always menacing. I'm going to murder you.
Yeah, I'm gonna murder you. Just when, you know, and it's almost that he's it's like an ever long presence,
Right.
Like a him just like playfully like like when they're in the library, he's like with the
Yeah.
noisemakers like waving, I'm like like going crazy. It's like that's so much more like instead of him just staring at you silently like with dead eyes.
Right.
That is more like, oh, this guy's not only annoying you,
Right.
but he's like, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. Like
it's creepy.
when that scene happens, and that's for like the older stuff in the movie, but like still relevant to this part. Like the idea that Richie older,
Beep Beep Richie?
Beep Beep Richie, is seeing all this stuff. He's got blood on his face. No one else can see what he's seeing. And Pennywise is just fucking with him.
Yeah.
Like, that is, to me, even more menacing that no one knows what's going on. And this guy's like, do you have a Prince Albert in a can?
Yeah.
Like, you should let the poor guy out. And he's got the noisemaker.
Yeah.
And, like, the performance is less physical, I guess, than Skarsgård, in the sense that Skarsgård has this, like, really strange body movement.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
stuff like that. But, like, the fact that Tim Curry at times could just, maybe it's just a guy, right? Like, you don't know at first. Like, maybe it's just a guy. There's no question. Like, this is a supernatural monster.
Yes.
In 2017.
His arm comes out, like, 15 feet to grab Georgie and pulls him back in.
Besides, like, the teeth, you could plausibly think that perhaps this is just a creepy fucking guy.
Yeah.
And especially when it's like, at first it seems to be a movie about just children going missing. Like, is it a serial killer? Is it something else? That question is not there in 2017. Like, they dive right into the action for better or for worse. But
yeah.
I personally prefer the Tim Curry portrayal.
Yeah, I prefer Tim Curry far more. I mean, it's difficult, and nothing against Alexander Skarsgård, or is that his name?
Yeah,
whatever, Skarsgård.
Yeah. Bill Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård. And he, nothing against him, and nothing to take away from anything he did. Like, I think he did his job as far as, like, he was good.
I think the visuals are superior.
Yeah, I think the technology is far superior.
Sure.
Like, when he comes, like, twisting out of that, the refrigerator or whatever, like, it's like, oh, that's so creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so unsettling just seeing his body move that way. But Tim Curry, as far as the playful annoyance, like, it's because, like, the whole thing too is like reason why he does it is because he's gonna eat them.
Right.
So, and the fear is like seasoning.
Right.
So the more scared they are, the better they taste. So that's why he's like fucking with them the whole time.
Right. And, like, I just feel that works. There are elements of the movie that make it difficult to watch in terms of, like, pacing issues in 1990. And I think, it's hard to say what that looks like broken up. Like, I don't know what the movie looks like broken up. But I felt it was a lot easier to watch some of the, like, horror scenes and the action because at this point the restrictions actually kind of help. Yeah, they can't show you everything.
They can't show you everything, like, so you don't know what happened to Georgie.
Right.
You know he got killed, but you're like, what the hell were those? What did you do with the teeth? Like, it could have been anything.
Yeah, I think that, and we're gonna get into this next, like, because ultimately you're getting introduced to all these different characters who are kids.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to watch a film where there's, like, he's kind of, like, lightly fucking with people.
Yeah.
There's a horror elements, but, like, he's mostly just messing with them.
Yeah.
And scaring.
And scaring them, yeah.
2017, I'm murdering everything.
Yeah, I'm murdering everything.
Like,
but then also when that happens, he's murdering everything, but it blurs the line of, so what the hell is he doing then?
Right.
Like, what's he's gonna eat them?
Right.
Or, like, what? Or, like, why does he just kill them all right then?
That's a question that comes up in 2017. Like, that seasoning thing you're talking about seems to be less important. Because there are a lot of times where he just kills people.
He just kills, like, the other bullies.
Yeah.
The one kid who goes into the sewer, who chases after them in the sewer. It's like, well, why not just either don't kill him, or, okay, you're hungry, kill him.
Right.
And then, but you're not scaring him really at all. You scared him with the balloon.
Right.
And he's like, ha! Like, which, by the way, in the movie theater, everyone jumped in the theater.
Sure,
it was great. This was a very good movie to watch in the movie theater.
I believe
it was really fun.
It has the modern horror look.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see, like, I guess it was a horror film, but is it a thriller in 1990? Like, is it?
It's like much more of a psychological thriller.
Yeah, I would say a psychological thriller, right?
Because he's toying with them the whole time. It's not so much he's like, I mean, he's gonna kill them, but he kills Georgie. So that's it's very hard to explain, like, what his motives are. Like, his motives are to eat them.
Right.
But, like, they set the groundwork with Georgie. Like, and also, like, what the miniseries, it's much more, the first part is much more heavily involved in the kids.
Right.
But you still go back and forth with, like, the adults.
That's true.
But in It Chapter 1, the remake, with Skarsgård, it's all just the kids.
Right.
The adults are not in the movie at all.
Right.
You're watching a movie that takes place in 1989.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's a different beast. So like when like you basically get you see the murder of Georgie, and then it goes fast forward to 1989.
Right, like
That
in the original.
In the original, in the miniseries. And Mike there's a bunch of kids have gone missing. And again, like, he killed them,
Right.
like, no problem, like, without a hesitation. But, so then he finds the picture of Georgie. There's so much wrong with that scene, by the way, right there. Like, one is, hey guy, you're a librarian.
Right.
This is a crime scene.
That's true.
Get out. What are you...
In the fact that, like, there's a cop that, like, works with him, basically. Like,
Yeah.
He's basically an unnamed cop, but, like, the chief hates him because he's a librarian and
He's a
poking around and
librarian.
telling him he sucks at his job.
Yeah.
Which he does.
But then the cops suck at their job.
Yeah. I mean, not to get too deep into, like, sort of the future and, like, the effects on the adults and stuff like that, but, like, that's also sort of inconsistent
Yeah.
with the way people just kind of forget or ignore what's going on.
Well, it's again, there's a bunch of stuff that gets alluded to in the books.
Okay.
Like, well, it's not alluded to in the books, it explains it in the book. It's that the further you get from Derry, the longer you're away, you forget it.
Okay.
Like, it's a poison when you're in the city, in the town. It's like literally a poison that clouds your brain so that also, like, the parents don't recognize what's going on with the kids because that's part of the poison.
Right.
Like, it's basically, like, makes them... It makes them disgruntled and, like, just... But also, they don't pay attention to the kids as much in that town, like, because of the cloud he puts on it. But his only focus is in that town, so once you get away, basically everything's fine.
Right.
And so because he's like, this is my territory, this is what I do. And... when you get away, you forget it. It's almost like you come out of the hypnosis of it. So you don't remember what you were talking about while you were hypnotized. And it's the same type of thing that's what happens. But Mike, specifically, never left. So he remembers everything.
Right.
He remembers all of it, and he's like, hey, and he has to remind them. And even, like, in the book, that's much more like, what? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I kind of remember, like, but that was like nightmares. Like, we all had kind of the same nightmare.
Right.
Like, it's literally like if you and I had shared a nightmare about a clown, and like we're talking about it 20 years later, and I think he pops up every 19 years or something like that.
So in the original film, it's every 30 years. In the remake, it's every 27. So I don't know if one's.
One of them's right in the book too.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be the guy talking about the book the whole fucking time either.
I gotta assume it's if something is in 2017, I gotta assume that it's more like the book because that film is more like the book.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, like we're talking about the kids and
except less hot than the book with one giant orgy. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh really?
Yeah. It's not
cool.
No, it's not.
Uncool. Does that have anything to do with like the Beverly Marsh character?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, well.
Let's just say they didn't share blood at the end.
I see.
Well, they kind of did. Anyway.
Interesting. Well, well, like getting to that, like we talked about the Georgie scene, which is a great intro for both films.
Yes.
The different Pennywise is obviously like we both like Curry because I think he plays a more range character.
Yes.
I also, this is where I started to kind of get a little messed up watching the remake is because it is a film about kids.
Yes.
Right? Like there's a certain level that I'm okay with like messing with the kids and I feel like 2017 goes beyond it. But like before we really dive into that, we'll just start introducing some of these characters.
Yes.
So I would say I guess our most important character, so, no, that's the old man.
Old man, take a look at yourself. Jonathan Brandis.
Yep. So in 1990, we got Jonathan Brandis playing Bill Denbrough at the age of 12, or young Bill, as we'll call him.
Hello, Bill!
You killed my brother George, you bastard!
Oh, Bill. And in 2017, we've got Jaden Martell, who plays Bill Denbrough.
Because when you're alone as a kid, the monsters see you as weak.
Just starting here because this is this is Georgie's brother.
Yes, the older brother. He was the main. I mean, he's not, but he in the book. It's not that he was the main kid, but he kind of is the main kid.
Right.
Like he is like the main guy that you're following because it happened to him.
Sure.
Like this. Not they all have tragedies, but his is. I think his is probably the most severe, right? Like the most traumatizing.
It's most severe and it's the most relevant to the audience.
I guess maybe Mike too. His family gets killed.
Yeah, the Mike thing is pretty
But
intense.
I don't know if they talk about that in the.
They talk about it in the remake. They don't really talk about
Yeah,
it.
they don't talk about that. Anyway, we'll talk about Bill first. But Jonathan Brandis, by the way, he was. Oh my God, he was everywhere.
Yeah.
That poor bastard. It got to him. He hanged himself. Everyone.
Shit.
Let me put that out there. By the way, people in podcast world, hanged is the. He wasn't hung. He was hanged. Clothes are hung. People are hanged.
Yeah.
I'll just let you know that. Anyway, move
That's a
on.
good distinction.
Yes, it's one of my annoyances in life. Anyway,
I think that.
I think he did a great job though with the stuttering.
I think he did a really good job. I would say that like, it's hard to say this just in the context of this film because there's a lot more time jumping in 1990.
Yes.
So again, we're purposely leaving out the adult stuff, but I think because of the benefit of some of this time jumping, we actually do get to sit and reflect on like these kids.
Yes.
A little bit more. I felt more connected to the kids in the 1990 film. I thought that, in terms of like, I thought they were a much more like believable, fun group, sort of. It may not be everyone's take, but like I felt like, in terms of the actors, I liked the kids and was okay with their story, but I think a lot of that was in context of when they were adults. Some of that was just like meh. So I think I was just like clinging to the kids. So like I really
I think what I in the 1990 version that they made the kids much more happy. Like it was almost like you could tell it was written by adults. Like that, we're like, hey, wasn't that a good time?
Yeah.
We used to hang out in the woods and fight that demon fucking clown. That was a good time. I had a good time doing all that.
You're right. They like, totally make.
But meanwhile, like these kids' lives were not good. Like this one girl's being abused by her father, sexually or otherwise. We don't know. And even in the miniseries, we kind of don't know. And then like this kid's fat and like he's a mess. And like these guys are bullying him.
Right.
And by the way, the bullying. Woo! In the 2017 version, that's a scary bully.
Yeah.
That's much. The other guy's like, hey, look out for you.
Yeah.
All right, tough. Other than the fucking Pennywise, it seemed like a pretty nice life these kids are having. Like it's a pretty good time. Whereas the 2017, like I want my childhood to be remembered that way.
Right.
It was more like the 2017.
Right. Right. No, that's a good point. That tonally, 2017 makes more sense.
Yeah, it's like their life wasn't that great.
I think that it felt like like a John Hughes, like a Molly Ringwald kind of film in 1990. Like it just felt like, hey, look at us palling around, skipping rocks over by the Pine Barrens. And though tonally that may not have fit, I think it made it.
You liked it.
I liked that, right?
Like the Sandlot, fucking like the Sandlotters playing fucking Pennywise.
Yeah. Exactly. And even like
and there was no racism then either.
Not at all.
None. Not a bit. Civil unrest, Martin Luther King getting killed, RFK getting killed, Malcolm X. Fuck that.
No problems.
Vietnam starting. There was a war? I don't know.
Yeah. I will say that the way I think Bill sets a good tone in the 1990 film in the sense that after Georgie dies, we actually get to, besides the adult stuff, we actually get to kind of see him, his father react poorly to him trying to talk about Georgie. And that scene felt a little bit better for me in terms of his interaction with his dad and his reaction. Like, it felt like he was actually going through this. When I was watching the 2017 film, I felt like Bill, his dad kind of yelled at him, but it was just like, take the stuff down. And then it just kind of moved on.
Yeah.
I don't think that the more kind of human tragedy of losing his brother, I don't think that we got to see some of the experience of that in 2017 because we dove right into more trauma.
Yes.
Now, this is a pacing issue in 1990 that we have time for everybody.
Yes, everybody's.
But that made me feel a little bit more invested in the kids in 1990. It took me a while to get there with the kids in 2017, and I think some of it has to do with just everything they're going through. Like, yeah, I feel for them, but like, there's also a lot to take in.
Yeah, it is a lot to take in because it's like, you don't want to see kids go through tragedy like that. You really don't. But at the same time, they are.
Yeah.
You know, they really are. Like, all of a sudden you got Richie, which, by the way, the Richie thing, that for those of you that don't know, the beep beep Richie, what that means, that's basically, they don't really explain it in either movie.
Right.
It's, beep beep is a way to say, like, hey, shut the fuck up. Like, hey, Richie, now's not the time to joke. So beep beep Richie is like, keep quiet, all right? Because he constantly makes jokes. Yeah. He doesn't stop. And just like us. Yeah. All the time. And so when they say beep beep Richie, just so everyone knows that. But his whole trauma, like, he deals, it's an angle that's not present at all.
Let's talk,
okay,
real quick, just so everyone knows, Richie Tozer in the 1990 film was played by Seth Green.
Hey. I heard that, you skirt. Hi, Bill. How you doing, Eddie Spaghetti?
Seth Green, Dr. Evil's son himself.
Some of his best work, actually.
Hey, it's the We Don't Drink Jaeger crew!
And, I think...
And by the way, his best work is Can't Hardly Wait, and we know that.
That's fair enough.
Why you gotta waste my flavor? Damn!
Is this the Stranger Things kid?
Yes, Finn Wolfhard.
Yeah, Finn Wolfhard is Richie in the remake. I felt like Richie, you get a later intro to him in the 1990.
Oh yeah, you do. And not as strong as present. Like, he's not really funny.
He felt actually like a side character, like the way they introduced him, because you kind of had this core group. Yeah. Before with Bill and his friends, and then Richie just kind of like in another subsect of that group, and they kind of combine.
Yeah, they combine them. Yeah.
Versus like what you're saying is 2017.
They're all there. Yeah, they're all friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's true too. Like that, you don't. What I do like about like both aspects, they kind of nail. Like you kind of, especially as like dudes growing up, you kind of don't have better friends than when you're like 12 years old. Like, those are the best friends you're ever going to have in your life. Those guys, like, hey, we found a dead body. We're going to go, like, hey, we're going to go play a baseball game. For how long? I don't know, 17 hours. Let's go. Like, I know you did too. Sure. But, like, I used to disappear for days. Like, with my friends. Oh, yeah. I could have easily gotten up to any of this stuff. Like, going swimming. Like, we went swimming in a shitty lake. Yeah, that was, like, found out to be, like, diseased later on. Maybe that's what happened. But maybe that's why I'm so tall. I don't know.
Who knows? You're a mutant, Dan. You're
mutant. I'm a fucking mutant.
Might be Pennywise. Who knows? Maybe.
That would explain how much I love to eat children. It's just so tender. Well, not just veal. But yeah,
you're right, because I've done that too. Like, you played stickball, like you say, disappear out in the woods, check out the barrens. Like, I felt that 2017.
Find random pornography in the woods. How did it get there? I don't know, but it was there.
Yeah, I think 2017 streamlines that experience.
Yes.
I think
it also does something very well. The two worst syllables that a kid that age could hear. Teenager. Right there. Yo, let's get the fuck out of here. That teenager's over there.
That's true.
Because that guy will stomp you out.
Yeah.
And that's true in the 2017 one.
Yeah, I mean, 2017 all around, the trauma.
Oh my God.
Is just much more pronounced. Whether it's the bullies, like the Henry Bowers character who we'll talk about, like the way Pennywise is coming after him.
Yes.
Everything is just on tilt. It's like way beyond what I think a normal kid could handle.
No, yeah, they would snap.
And that's kind of the goal. Pennywise is trying to break them.
Yeah,
he
is trying to break them.
Which he succeeds for at least one of the characters, who I guess
Stan the Man.
Yep. And
and by the way, of course, he's got to be the only Jewish character that it's all too much for him. It's fucking anti-Semitic.
Yeah, there's
Stephen King.
There's some stuff in there.
Stephen King of the Catholics.
In 1990, Ben Heller plays Stanley Uris, and in 2017, we have Wyatt Oleff who plays Stanley Uris.
Yeah.
So I mean, even at this point, in terms of like characters, Richie's Bill's trauma is his brother died.
Yes.
And his family really doesn't want to hear his shit about that at all. Like, he's dead, move on, we have, cut it out. That's like his trauma.
Yeah.
Richie, he's like this jokester guy. In 2017, they do like a good job of alluding to, they don't do it in chapter 1.
No, they don't at all.
So I won't bring that up. But like,
you can talk about it if you want.
I guess so. They allude to like that Richie's homosexual he's
gay as shit
in the film.
No.
And I guess I'm sure there's like subtle hints probably throughout this.
See, this is the part of the book I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember if he was at all. I know there's a lot of Pennywise kills a lot of gay dudes though. I know that, but I think it's something. And of course, like it's so written by a straight guy that these guys are. It's something to do with them being like ashamed to be gay.
Yeah.
And so like he uses that to like use that as the fear.
Right.
Like it's something to do with that. That's why he kills them. And there's a pretty brutal scene with it in the book. But I don't remember if Richie is at all. I think he's just like a fucking like a dickhead.
Yeah.
Like I think he's just a dick.
Yeah.
I don't remember though. I felt like that would have stood out to me.
Yeah, in 1990, that's kind of just what it is, right?
Yeah, he's not anything.
Yeah. That's makes it difficult to kind of like hone in on his trauma because I feel like a lot of other people have.
Yeah, everyone else does but him.
Yeah, like Richie's kind of muted, and that is what it is. But I guess having that extra element of like his homosexuality.
Yeah.
And there's in chapter 2, which we'll get to, there are scenes with gay characters and like brutality in the film that must be.
That's a reference to that. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, but I guess it makes some sense how they got there.
Yeah.
Like, I think Richie in both scenarios gets better when he's an adult, but like, I feel like Richie gets a lot more like screen time and importance in his 2017 film, and I'm not necessarily sure why.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think it's because while they made it, I think it's just based on who played them.
I think so. I think that's exactly
like
what it is.
Like they're pretty much at the pinnacle. Like Bill Hader does such a great job as him as an adult, and then also he does it. The Finn Wolfhard is the biggest of those kids,
right?
Like so, I think they get the biggest, and he gets all the great lines.
Sure,
he gets
a ton of great lines.
Yeah, he gets a ton of great lines, and some of them are really funny. And I think it does a really good job of like his immature humor as a kid. Like I would definitely make those jokes. He curses constantly,
right?
Which I think is great because when I was a kid, I cursed constantly.
And I think that having him have those lines and the cursing actually does make it feel more like your buddies you were hanging out when you were 12.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Richie in that film, 2017, helps to make this friend group feel real.
Yeah.
Richie does not do that at all in 1990. I mean, Seth Green, he's funny in it, or like...
I guess.
Right, I guess.
Like,
in relation to everyone else, but like, he really does feel like a side character.
Yeah, he feels like a really side character that's, okay, he's like, okay, a little funny. Whereas like, he grows up to be a comedian, and as you know, like, from you and I seeing comedians constantly, that it's like, okay, like Richie in 2017 would be a comedian, grow up to be a comedian. He would be that. He's a shit talks. He shit talks.
Which is funny that they basically make it that he doesn't write his own shit.
Yeah.
Which, like, it almost steps on the characters. Like, what are you talking about? Like, of course that guy could write.
Yeah, of course he write his own shit.
I don't know, but
It's also has to do like a lot with the way they perceive the Pennywise. Like
Right.
all of them, like the trauma is inherent in both of them in different
Right.
ways. All of them. Like basically with Bill, it's always Pennywise.
Right.
He's always, and he's got a stutter, and you know, which comes back. Like that's almost like a good metaphor when he comes back to Jerry when the stutter returns.
right,
And,
right.
but then Beverly Marsh is the next one.
Great character.
Beverly Marsh, who is the only female of the Losers Club.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to say, I think
Sure.
Finn Wolfhard knocked it out of the fucking park.
I think
he did a great job.
I think he did a great job. He was pushing a lot of
Yeah.
the pace in the plot. To me, like Bill may have been more of like the glue in the 1990 film, kind of making this all work.
Yeah.
The Richie Tozer character in 2017, he's doing so much exposition and stuff like
Yeah.
that, like, and he's handling it all very well. Like, he's moving the film along.
Definitely is. Yeah.
And
it makes, like you said, it makes you feel like these guys are actually friends.
Right. Because other than Finn Wolfhard, I didn't really initially have any real care about this group of kids, and I think it's just I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
I think they were going so kind of tropey with them that it was hard for me to lock in at first. Which I'm not gonna lie to you, and which makes it hard to do the podcast the way we're doing it. But like, I felt a lot of that got fixed when we got more of the kids in the next chapter. But for me, at least. But whatever, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
The movie that we're watching, like, I think Richie, played by Finn Wolfhard, helps keep this thing afloat and keep it moving.
Yeah, he does. I think he does such a good job.
Which is great. You brought up Beverly Marsh. So, in 1990, Emily Perkins plays Beverly Marsh,
That's Richie. He can drive you to the bug house and back, but he's...
who, like you mentioned, is the only girl in the Losers Club.
Yes.
And, come on, phone.
No, we're leaving it all in. Every bit. Every beat.
Cool with that, too. Yeah. And in 2017, we got Sophia Lillis, who plays Beverly Marsh.
The win.
Now, for me, in 1990,
There wasn't jack shit for her to do.
it
Jack
really wasn't.
shit. It was clean up blood. That was it. That was the entire character.
That was about it.
It was the entire character. It was clean up blood that could spit out of her fucking, out of her drain.
That and to have like Ben be obsessed with her. Like,
Yeah, and Ben be obsessed with her. But even like the obsessed with her is like silly.
Yeah, it's very childish.
It's very childish. Whereas the Ben being obsessed with her later is much more.
Yeah.
Also, like the poem that he writes, like Embers, whatever.
That's Stephen.
Yeah, it's that. It makes more like even in the first one, it's like she doesn't have red hair. So
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
That's a great
What's
point.
going on?
That's a great point.
The whole like her character. That nothing to take away from the actress, but it was clearly written by guys who don't know anything about
Right.
women at all. It's
Right.
like, oh, well, like little girl.
Yeah, Emily Perkins.
There's a girl. She's there. You know.
Not much. I mean, mostly there to be traumatized by her father.
Yes.
That's
Traumatized by her father. Not that it repeats later in life.
Right.
And it's just, it was terrible. Like her cleaning up blood. But when by the way, I've never felt something more in all my life though when she cleans up all the blood, and then it comes back again.
Yeah.
She's like, oh. I was like, that's what would make me stop. I'd be like, okay, Pennywise, we're fighting now.
Yep.
We're fighting now.
And I guess like there are some moments too, like I guess she's a good shot, I guess as it were, and stuff like that. But like that's kind of shoehorned in. It really doesn't have much to do with the character.
Yeah.
Like I guess it's cool. I guess the girl's gonna be the one who can take down the clown. I guess.
Yeah.
But it's kind of irrelevant.
I think in all the mediums though, she's a good shot.
Right.
You know,
she
I
is.
think she is. Yeah.
She is. And I don't know, like, to your point, she's being kind of overshadowed by a lot of the rest of the cast.
Yeah, she has jack
Next
shit
man.
to do in the first one. It's like there's no point to what she's doing at all.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing is what? Okay, well, I guess she's got to be there.
Right. I will say this, that her father in 1990, who's actually he's the fucking custodian. No, he's the bailiff in Air Bud. So
how did I miss this?
yeah, the fucking the bailiff from Air Bud is beating the shit out of his daughter for a lot of the film. I got this guy's name. Yeah, Frank C. Turner.
Frank C. Turner.
Who plays Al Marsh in the original. So, because this character is basically her trauma, like in 1990, her dad is abusive, like everyone's dad is in this film.
I think everyone's dad is.
He like hits her.
In life.
In 2017, Sophia Lillis, or whatever, her character has to deal with quite a bit more of that trauma that we're talking about. Let me see if I got it. Oh, yeah. So, Stephen Bogart plays her dad, or Mr. Marsh, in 2017. So, here's where and this is me reading too much in the movie, I started having trouble with the film around this part. So, Sophia Lillis is this character who's being, like, abused by her father, and it heavily implied sexually abused by her father. And I think that Sophia does an amazing job.
Oh, phenomenal. I thought she did great.
Portraying that, right?
Yeah,
like, it felt like, Jesus, man.
Yeah, it's like, God, I want to fucking beat the shit out of this
I know.
guy.
And I guess I got to say shout out to Stephen Bogart, but it's really hard to, like, enjoy his performance because it is that creepy and disturbing.
Oh, it's very good. Like, I don't know how people do that when you're like, if I were working with a kid like that, like I could deal with like I could deal with being Pennywise so much more than I could deal with being the dad. Like I'd have to every 3 seconds, like have to stop, be like, I'm really sorry.
Right.
I'm really sorry.
Right. Because like, at what point are you just traumatizing a kid?
Yeah, you're just trying, like, whether it's acting or not, they're still absorbing exactly what you're throwing out.
Right. Especially because the idea of acting is you are absorbing that.
Yeah.
It's like the scene where Sophia cuts her hair, because she's blaming herself. For this abuse. It's really powerful. But I guess where I started to have trouble with that is because we're doing this sort of breakfast club, and they even make a joke that like she's the Molly Ringwald of the group.
Yeah.
You follow that scene, the haircutting scene, with the kids at like that lake or whatever they're jumping into.
The reservoir or whatever.
Yeah, and all the guys are kind of like staring at her because she's the girl, right? I think there should have been a little bit more space between those scenes because like the messaging is, for me, and I'm reading too much into this, but like it's a little much to go from sexually traumatized in one scene to then go back to the male gaze in a more childish way in the next scene. But like that was a little hard for me to square because I'm like, why are we putting this kid in her like underwear and stuff like that to be like stared at by kids? And I think that if there was a little bit more space between that scene, I would have been all right. But like, I just like tonally, I was like, I don't really love what's happening here.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but
like the two things are separate. Like an abusive father has nothing to do with boys being like.
In fairness, yeah, exactly. In fairness, like I know grown men who don't care.
Mm.
Like whereas like children certainly don't.
Sure.
I was not thinking about other people's trauma when I was 12.
No, same. Same.
Like I was not like. I was just thinking, oh, the girl's hot. And I also have no idea how to talk to them.
Exactly. I just think that, like, you want to play off of us with the haircutting scene, which I think is a powerful scene. This trauma that she's going through. And then the next scene, I don't know, like, you want us to now just be like, oh, yeah, no, these guys kind of dig her. Like, it was a weird shift for me.
Yeah.
And again, I would say Sophia Lillis' character is where I started feeling like a little rough about the film in the sense that like this trauma was so realistic and fucked up, including Pennywise. Like there's Pennywise, but then there's like
her
the
father.
dad. Like to me, like the dad is much more of a villain.
Yeah, because he should be taking care of her.
Right. So like these kids are getting it from every angle.
Yeah.
And that was a little rough.
Except from each other.
Mm-hmm. Except for each other. That's where the solace is.
Yeah.
And again, there's nothing wrong with that as a film. I think actually it's actually impressive that they're able to do that in the film. It's just because you want me to be invested in these kids.
Yeah.
there's so much trauma hitting them left and right that like it's hard for me to like just sit in it because man, these kids are getting fucked up.
they're getting fucked up.
And like 1990, like sure, yeah, they're getting fucked up. Oh, the shower is moving. Ooh, like it was a much more like mild, playful horror.
Yeah.
2017 was just horrific.
No, it's horrific.
Which was the goal.
Yeah.
And, like they nailed it. But, like I'm not a big horror guy, so like that was a little tough for me, and I think that's why I'm like. I do think I'm overreading that scene, but like that's why that scene.
No, I don't think you are though.
Sit with me.
I think it's, but I think it all like leads into the same thing of like the ultimate, which makes it like everything that Ben is doing to her makes it that much more like nice because it's coming from a genuine part like of whatever love is between them.
Right.
Like he genuinely means it. Like he has no reason to lie to her, and he doesn't try, and doesn't even tell her that it's him. Like he hides it like it's as pure as anything as it possibly could be. So he sends this note to her, and she finds it or whatever, and she doesn't know who sent it to him. She thinks it's Bill. It's not Bill, and it's the complete opposite of even the person that's supposed to look out for her the most.
Right.
And he doesn't. He's abusing her one way or another.
Getting into that, you mentioned Ben. So, Brandon Crane in 1990 plays Ben Hanscom at age 12, young Ben.
Yes.
Who is like new kid in town?
New kid in town.
He's chubby, right? Like that's like
chubby kid. Which, by the way, in the other one, he was not really. Like, it was like okay.
Yeah, what, 1990?
Yeah, 1990.
No,
he was like, not. They keep making fat jokes. Like that guy's fat.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right,
versus like Jeremy Ray Taylor, who plays Ben Hanscom in the remake, who is like
he's a chubby kid.
He's a chubby kid, and he like
I could see people making as a kid who was a very fat kid. I could see exactly what that kid. And he did it really well.
Yeah, so. he was incredible. Like I would say that 1-2 combination of Ben and Sophia.
Yeah.
Ben and I guess the Marsh girl.
Yeah, Beverly.
Beverly Marsh. I would say that combination in the remake is
far better.
Yes. Yeah, it is. In like the fact that she doesn't know that it's him pays off a lot more later. Like in the original, there's like, no, I always knew it was you, which is okay.
Yeah.
I also felt that like the original Ben was pretty confident.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he wasn't. He was
like the whole time. Like
he was like, yeah, this is how you build a dam.
Yeah. Like, but even like when they first get to the school, you know, they're like, say who you are. And he's like going through the thing, and he kind of like looks at her, and he's like, he's got like the swag to like go sit by her.
He's like, yo, I'm an army kid. Well, it's good.
Like that kid.
Yeah, I'm a little fat. What of it?
Right. Like that kid.
You know what else is fat? There's dick.
He had that energy. Like he literally had that energy. So like I felt that a little too confident. Like,
oh, listen, man. Ben, the new kid, in 2017, first of all, the way they write him as the smart kid is so good.
Yeah.
It doesn't beat you over the head that he's smart.
I was a little mad they took that from the black kid.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But dude, I'll be honest, I like the black kid was like, yeah, I got this fucking gun. Yeah, I killed these. I don't really want to kill the animal, but I fucking kill him.
It's my job. It's what I do.
Yeah, and the dad is like, the dad he's in mad shit too.
Yeah.
His uncle.
Yeah, the uncle, because his dad.
His dad is dead. But, and I thought it kind of like added more, and I know why they did it, because they want to make him more of an outcast.
That was Stephen Williams.
Oh yes, yeah. Stephen Williams. They made him more as like the outcast.
Yeah.
To like because he doesn't go to school with them really. Like he works at this slaughterhouse. He doesn't hang out with kids. Like.
Yeah.
But Ben, they really beat over the head with that he's like really smart, but they don't find, like, it's not like everyone like, yo, you know how smart he is?
Right, right.
Like, you see him and he just knows all this shit.
Right.
And he's just like, hey, this is what it is. And as a guy who knows a lot of shit, I appreciate that.
Right.
That he's like, this is what that is.
There was a lot of great writing choices for Ben in this film. Because he's a new kid, instead of just the black kid happened to be looking at this.
Yeah.
Like Ben was like, well, I was moving here, so I was researching the town.
Yeah, it's like I got interested in that because that kid would.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that kid would
Makes
fucking
sense.
look up the town.
And then like their little hideout or whatever, like he put it together and he's like hammering stuff together, like his smarts.
Smart. My boy's wicked smart.
Like his smarts are like just on display in the background, and in a lot of ways, Beverly's really the only one that sees that, right? So it just makes their relationship even stronger.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing when you're a kid. I knew kids that were really smart. I didn't fucking think they were smart.
Right.
I didn't give a shit.
Right.
Like I didn't give a fuck with it. Was like we gonna play kickball?
Right.
Or what are we doing? Like I wasn't sitting there like sitting next to them in class like, man, this fucking guy knows.
This guy.
Yeah, meanwhile, like I'll sit there and see that same guy now at a bar or something. I'll be like, holy shit, this guy, he gets it.
I will say as well. So I mean, at this point, we're basically saying that Beverly and Ben are big upgrades in this.
I think Finn Wolfhard too. Richie.
Oh yeah, Richie's a huge.
You know something too. I think
like
maybe Jonathan Brandis, but even fucking St. Vincent kid is good.
Yeah,
he's good too.
I think that the Wolfhard kid.
He wolfs so hard.
He wolfs so hard, and like Seth Green, it's kind of novel that it's Seth Green, but like, he doesn't really bring much to it. You know?
It stinks.
Oh, my dick. You know, like that's about it. Versus like Wolfhard, who's able to do the jokes, be in this case Bill's best friend, be affected by the things that Bill does, be like, fuck this, I'm tired of like your shit.
Yeah.
I'm leaving, and like him being able to just move all these pieces.
Yeah.
Through this one character. And then to have this sort of reveal when he's older that he's gay, and it's like not, maybe it's there, like I'm not seeing it, but like it's not really being laid out. So like
that he was joking to cover up that fact.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what 2017 does so well. Is although like I initially came in here saying like I didn't love the kids as much overall because I did like that weird.
You felt bad.
I felt bad. That was mostly it. I felt bad. Like, I
felt bad for those little shits.
I'm kind of partial to that little like goofy Breakfast Club camp.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, this Stand By Me, that everything's like literally the first one's written through rose-colored glasses.
Yes.
That you're like, oh, everything's great. But that's the other thing too, that as good as Jonathan Brandis is in this, that he's like the better of the Bills, but that kid is not a fucking loser. Like that. The kid's like. He's fucking 12 years old. He could steal my mom. Like, he could bang her if he wants. Like, what? There's no way that guy's a loser in Derry, Maine.
That is actually consistent with some of these characters. Some of them are losers. Some of them ain't really losers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the bullies call them losers, but like, I didn't feel like Ben was a loser in the original film. I felt like this he's leaving poems for chicks.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
By the way, I was like, how many fucking friends did you have when you were 12? Again, it wasn't like 7 like tight-knit dudes.
No. There was like 3 guys I kind of liked, and
like
4 other guys I was like,
we were like, yeah,
that's
this guy.
your friend? All right.
Well, this guy's got a baseball bat, so we're gonna play.
Exactly. Nah, I think that also in 2017, for the most part, most of these kids are already in their group.
Yeah, like fucking Richie,
Bill, Stanley,
and then the kid, the wheezing kid, the kid with the fake eyes.
Oh yeah, we might as well talk about him.
Yeah, we can talk about him.
How you doing, Eddie Spaghetti?
Eddie. Yeah, Eddie Spaghetti.
Eddie Spaghetti. So yeah, speaking of that kid, in 1990, our friend Eddie is played by Adam Farizzi.
The clown. Yeah, I saw him too.
Eddie
Trash.
Kasbrack, young Eddie, in 2017.
That kid's never been in anything else, and he shouldn't.
It's about right.
He fucking stinks, that kid.
In 2017, Jack Dylan Grazer plays Eddie Kasbrack.
He was much better.
He was much better, and like, we're not even at this point, but like, the casting they did with the adults.
I was just thinking the same thing. The casting for the second movie is so fucking good. It's so good.
We cannot wait to dive into that shit.
Like it's so good of everyone they got. It's like literally if you made a dream list, and like it worked. Like who do you think you are, Marvel?
Dude, like the one-to-one between young Eddie and old Eddie in 2017 is
perfect,
amazing.
And just how they cast his mom as his wife. It's the same woman.
Mm-hmm. That's hilarious. And makes sense.
It's so that guy would marry someone like that.
Like,
I see it all the time.
You know, like Eddie in the original, he's fine, but like Bill's kind of like pulling him along, right?
Yeah.
Like Eddie is like,
and by the way, the way Richie rips on him is exactly how that would happen.
right.
He's like, you fucking fat ass mom or whatever.
Right.
Like, oh, you don't have fucking asthma. Like,
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah. I like Eddie is very. Let's just say he's weak.
Oh, he's
in 1990, right? Like he's
you're weak.
he's not a very strong character. People have to kind of help him along.
Oh my
it's because
God.
his mom is like this overbearing,
protective.
And-
Like she's like one of those parents that would keep getting their kids sick just so they can take care
Right.
of them. Like
right. What's that shit like Munchausen syndrome?
yeah,
Like,
Munchausen. Yeah,
he basically has that.
starving. No, Munchausen.
Yeah. But in 2017, Eddie kind of gives it as good as he takes it.
Yeah,
You know?
he's like he basically is like, shut the fuck up, Richie.
Yeah. And like, although his mom is this overbearing figure in his life, like in a lot of ways when he's interacting with his friends, he's in his element.
Yeah, he's fine.
You know? Versus 1990, like Eddie he's kind of like just happy to be alive, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like
That kid's a fucking loser.
It's touch and go. That kid's a true loser. But I like what they're doing in 2017. I'm glad that we're talking about this because I'm starting to see where I'm liking the acting. I think because I didn't know a lot of acting. I mean, I didn't know 1990, but because they spent so much time.
Yeah.
This is Eddie's problem. This is Stanley's problem. Like 1990 does that.
Oh, you think he's okay? No, he's not.
It's a bit much.
It is
in some sense, you know.
I mean, but you kind of have to establish that. But like Eddie's kind of backstory, it's like he's got an overbearing mom. It's like, right, that's not that bad.
Yeah, like it could be worse.
Yeah,
it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, it's like you got you have like fake asthma. That's just water vapor that you get an inhaler for.
Totally.
This is battery acid, you slime.
That slime.
That literally, that line in that movie makes me cringe.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so stupid.
Especially.
And it works.
Yeah, it works, but like the other thing is, but it's not. Like they tell you it's a placebo.
Yeah. He tells him, which the way they do that, the transition between the pharmacist at that old pharmacist. That's also another thing that, like, yes, it's a small town, and it's a small pharmacy and stuff, but it works so much better in, like, 1969 because that guy would know that kid.
Right.
You know, whereas, like, the pharmacy in town, he might not in 1989. Like, he doesn't care
Even
that
if
much.
he did, like, what would you care? Right. Like, 69, it would make more sense that you're, like, invested in the Cummins.
Exactly. He would be, like, I don't know, in 89, it's more like, in 1969, yeah, that guy took over for that guy's, for his father. He took over his pharmacy. Whereas, like, he takes over his father now. But no, this motherfucker watched Wall Street.
Right.
Like, he's not doing this.
Yeah, he's like, I'm out of here.
I'm
like,
out of here.
Like most people.
I'm getting out of Derry.
That's the goal of literally almost every character in the film, is to get the fuck out of this small town.
And it should be.
It really should be, especially because there is a killer clown.
Except for Mike.
Mike. Let's talk about Mike.
Yeah.
In 1990, Mike Hanlon is played by Marlon Taylor.
Yes.
Yep. And that's what I got to say about that.
Yep. I believe he's just generic black kid.
He's
in that movie. You think his real name is?
He's about as generic as.
It's like, wow. This is not even. He's like a forgotten character.
Yeah.
He's important as an adult, but not as a kid.
That's true.
And in that movie.
And I think that's fine. Like they try to build out some more backstory for Mike in 2017. We have Chosen Jacobs, who plays Mike Hanlon in this film.
Who's far better.
He's far better. Like the scene with, like we were saying, Stephen Williams or whatever, where he's supposed to put like the bolt into the sheep and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He was like, "Look, boy, there's two things. You either doing this or you're out there.
Or you're a sheep."
Yeah, and I like Chosen Jacobs. I do think he's a strong actor. I was originally kind of pissed because they were taking jobs from black people. Like, he wasn't the one with the book.
Yeah.
Like Mike in the original
Yeah.
film, but putting it in Ben's hand makes so much more sense. And plus, Mike's gonna have plenty to do when they get older.
Yeah, he's still a librarian.
Yeah, like I'm trying to remember. Besides getting beat up and called the N-word, what happens to the 1990 like, AK 1969?
He doesn't even.
Like,
He doesn't.
He doesn't.
That. That's why. Like, he gets like bullied a little, and then don't worry, Jonathan Brandis shows up, fully explaining why he is not a loser.
Right.
In that movie, like he shows up, like, "Why don't you leave him the fuck alone?" Basically, like, "Don't worry, Great White Warrior's here to save the day,"
Right.
and like,
Right.
"Oh, everything's okay now," and he's fine. And then they're best friends.
I do like that. They're like the adults in town who like see everything happens. Like, oh jeez.
Ah, Jesus.
Brandis
Beating up that black guy. That black kid again.
Black kid.
They're beating up that black kid again.
And Brandis like, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that.
Get fucked.
I know it's right.
Yeah. I do
Fucking
remember
sidekick. You know what my best friend is?
That.
Chuck Norris. Sidekicks, you ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
It was awesome. That movie's awful. Oh my god.
And you know Jonathan Brandis, who wrote the "I Have a Dream" speech and then gave it to
Yeah, he did.
Marlon. He was like, "Here, you can
We'll
use it."
take that from them.
Yeah. Mike, you know, he comes in his own a little bit later in the films.
But he's great. But also, like, through Mike, which is, it's a bit much that you could have easily done. They do it a little bit with Henry Bowers in the 2017, but it definitely shows the class divide in the town.
Yes.
That he's clearly not a rich kid, Mike. But it's like, why has it got to be the black kid that's poor? Why has it got to be?
Right.
Oh, of course he's poor.
Like, he lives in Poor Town.
Yeah, he lives in. I think it's called Poor Town.
It is literally called Poor Town.
His parents are buried in Pottersfield.
Yeah, well, we kind of got away somewhat from the trauma. I mean, we talked about Eddie being kind of like abused by his mother medically, but like in 1990, like whatever happens to Mike is like inconsequential. In 2017,
Yeah.
it's rough.
Oh, it's rough. That kid is
His parents are in a fire,
dying of fire.
trying to get to him in the fire, screaming out,
Yeah.
and he's stuck in another room before he's rescued. And people in town.
But hears them die.
Yes, he hears
them screaming.
He hears his parents die. It's really affecting him, which is why maybe you shouldn't have this kid shooting sheep or whatever.
No. That can't add fuel to the fire.
That's not great. And then, on top of that, because of the racism in the town, which at this point the racism is more like a 1989 racism, they accuse his parents of basically like freebasing or smoking crack and dying in a crack fire. Correct. I think is what you would call that.
Yes. Crack fire.
Crack fire.
Yeah.
The Great Crack Fire of '89.
Yep.
Fuck.
Fuck.
And like that.
Doc Gooden started it.
Yeah. That's the tone that these two films.
But that's like, yeah, that guy. It's like, yo, this kid's not, and also he is not like reading books or anything. He's not going to school. I don't think. He's just working at the slaughterhouse with his uncle and delivering meat, and that's how the kids meet him. Is that the other Henry Bowers and them stop him? They're gonna not only rob him, but let him know that they're racist pieces of shit.
Yes.
And they're gonna, and then the other losers stop him, and they're like, "Yeah, you're that guy that lives in Port Town, right?" And then instantly best friends.
Right.
But then again, I kind of buy that they would become best friends because that guy doesn't have any friends.
Yeah.
So he would be like, "Yo, can I hang out with you? Yeah, come on out."
Totally. And it elevates Bill and his crew because they're not racist pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's good for them.
Yeah.
It's good for them.
Even though Richie does make like black jokes, which I think is like, okay, he would. Because he would do that.
Yeah, but like in the context of this friend group, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
like,
not.
Is it fun? I don't know if it's a microaggression, but like, trust me, being the black kid in a group before, like, you're going to take a few.
Yeah. Yet somehow you were also Richie in the group.
Yeah, that's true. I was Richie.
You had the glasses.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I'm not wearing them right now.
I know.
That's mostly for filming.
I know.
Speaking of this, because all right, that's basically our crew, right?
Yeah.
We have to talk about everyone's favorite sociopath,
Henry Bowers.
Henry Bowers, in 1990, played by Jared Blanchard, and this Henry is like kind of like a greaser.
He was super cool.
Super cool.
Danny Zuko himself.
Me and my leather.
Leather jacket with his slicked hair.
In 2017, Nicholas Hamilton plays Henry Bowers.
Who was
Now,
young Kiefer Sutherland there.
Totally.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this, and maybe it's my sensitive palate. The greaser, goofball.
Yeah, he's not that
takes
bad
it
of
a
a
little
kid.
too far.
Yeah.
Besides,
he's a
kinda
rough kid. But,
Yeah.
Like, I've been bullied worse than those kids were.
Sure. I mean, like, he toes the line, and like because of I think the TV restriction, and some of the budget restriction. Like, yeah, was he gonna like carve up Ben? Yeah, he was thinking about it. And his friends were
Listen,
like,
he said he was. He's not gonna.
right.
He's not. Not 1 minute of that movie that you thought that guy was actually capable of that.
Right. And like even his crew has like a moral compass. They're like,
Hey man, hey Henry, let's get out of here.
yeah. Like, I don't know. Henry is just a kid like the other kids who clearly there's some kind of trauma that's made him fucked up. And he is more fucked up than most of the people we've seen in this film.
Yes.
But
he's not that
He's
fucked
not
up.
a killer clown.
He's not a killer either. Like he's a fucking stupid kid.
Right. Who's been left back like a
Yeah,
couple
who's been
times.
left back and he's pissed at his life, so he takes it on these kids.
Right. And because it's easy.
Yeah,
Really,
it's
that's
easy.
his motivation.
Yeah, it's easy.
Like, these kids are easy to beat up.
Yeah.
And that's my situation in life. I'm a bully, I beat you up.
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
Yeah, this is the role I play.
It's the classic, after school, you're dead, you're dead. And like, yeah, he's going to chase
so
you.
dead.
He's going to rat you a little bit, but like...
But you're going home.
Yeah. Like
2017.
like you said, going home, right? Like in 1990, when they throw rocks at the bullies, I can't believe that these kids are like, fuck this, right? Like, we're just going to throw these rocks and they'll be okay.
Yeah.
2017, why would you ever think
Yes.
you'd get away with our friend Hamilton, Nicholas Hamilton's Henry Bowers? He is insane.
He is insane.
Insane.
He might be worse than Pennywise.
I'll take my chance with Pennywise.
Dude, yeah, it's like, that motherfucker. He doesn't have a knife.
Yeah. Like Pennywise, I'm a little scared he bit me. Like this dude, he will torture you.
Yeah.
He'll shoot a cat. He'll try to burn you to death.
Joe, he was trying to cut up, like, legit. And he did
carved-
cut up.
he carved him
He
up.
carved up the fat kid.
That's nuts, dude.
Dude.
And like carving his own name, so it's like you're leaving.
Yeah,
That's-
it's like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that guy, that's a problem.
That kid is a problem. Which, and we'll get to that when we talk about as adults, which is such a letdown that like the older version of him doesn't meet the same like moment as like 1990. Like
Yeah.
the older Henry Bowers, it's still like irrelevant that he's still around and like doing shit, but
Yeah.
like that felt more fleshed out, which is
Yeah.
crazy because we're seeing so much of this sociopath in the 2017 film. And they kind of dropped the ball a little bit when he's an adult. Like when he's a kid, he's out of his mind.
Oh, he's out of his mind.
Out of his mind. It's hard to watch.
And basically it's like, and then it fucking with him, like, just give him a little push. I don't think, like, it really fucks with him in the 1990.
Not really.
I don't think so. Not until later.
Not until later.
But, like, as a kid, he's just doing it like, you're dead. It's like, okay, whatever. This guy's like, yo, this clown's telling me to do
Yeah.
something.
Like
And
this clown's telling
you
me
know
to
what? He's
kill
making
my
a
father.
lot of good points.
Yeah.
He's making a lot of good points.
I think that there's good character exposition. Like as much as every parent in this town is horrible as well in 2017. Weirdly, Henry Bowers may have the best dad.
There's something else going
There
on.
must be.
It
There
alludes
must
to
be.
him being a very physically abusive guy.
That makes sense.
I mean, he's got to be.
That makes
kid,
sense.
That kid doesn't come out like that.
No, I agree. Because like his dad's a cop, and you know
He's there. I'll give you that.
I'll give him that. But like,
And the only reason why he wouldn't be in jail is because his father was a cop.
yeah, this guy Stuart Hughes plays Officer Bowers in 2017. There's a scene where like Henry's about to shoot this cat because he's insane.
Yes.
He's like, just hold this cat. Like, hey, stand down range and hold the cat while I shoot at it.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, you need better friends in your life if you're holding the cat while you're trying to shoot at it. Like, you're kind of stupid. If
Yeah.
You're gonna sit there for that. Let that guy just fucking aim at a cat. Like, hey Henry, I'm not gonna stand here. You know, good luck. When his dad comes in and he kind of like punks him. Yeah, I guess his dad is a bad guy.
He's a bully.
He does shoot at his feet.
Yeah.
But like he frames his character so much when he's like, you see that, boys? That's what I forget what he calls it, like a paper man or something like that. That's what happens when like a paper man or something like that feels fear, because like Henry's so afraid and like kind of, well, because his dad's shooting at him.
Among other things, but the way he, like his trauma that he's going through in that moment, you're like, oh, fuck.
But his trauma does not excuse his behavior.
No, absolutely not. But
in 1990, like I could see his trauma being like, okay, like is he inching towards worse?
oh yes,
It appears.
Oh, yes.
But like 2017, he is bad.
Oh, he's a serial killer.
He's quite literally.
He's literally on the way to be a serial killer.
Which
in everything you could possibly think of.
Right.
Like every way you could. Like in the first one, in the 1990, he's a dick.
Right.
But in this one, it's like, oh, this guy's Ted Bundy.
Totally. And I think that in 1990, when the Pennywise stuff happens, like they basically, because Pennywise at this point starts messing with him.
Yeah.
After his hair turns white and everything like that, because he's so afraid of Pennywise. That's when basically the murders are pinned on Henry Bowers.
Yeah.
In 1990, and I guess that seems just more like a convenient scapegoat. Versus 2017, if you told me Henry Bowers did that to the kids, I'd be like,
Yeah, he definitely
And
did.
even if he didn't, you know what? Still, lock him up. Like,
Lock this kid up.
This kid's a problem.
Yeah, like the 1990, 1969, whatever, Henry Bowers, I knew that kid. You know, like,
Right.
that kid is probably a well-adjusted adult. He's probably fine.
Sure.
He would have grown out of that. This Henry is, it's like, oh no.
No, this is a bad.
That's a bad scene.
Bad man.
This is a bad kid that was raised by a bad guy that was without any, like, good in his life.
Right. No, 100% agree with that. And yeah, it's all very interesting, man.
Dude, like, he makes no hesitation to carve that kid up.
Mm-hmm. Carve him up, try to burn a black kid. It's a lot. I will say that Henry Bowers is doing more evil per minute than Pennywise.
Oh, I'd be 1,000 times more afraid of Henry Bowers.
I think in this universe that they've set up, I would rather take my chances with the fucking clown.
Yeah, with the clown.
Because there are scenes where the clown's just gonna fuck with you.
Yeah.
There's no reprieve from Henry Bowers.
No.
Sociopathy.
Yeah.
In this film, like he will harm, maim you.
Yes.
And it's not going to end well.
It's not. It's terrible. But
I like the greasers. Hey,
Yeah.
Zuko, like you said. Like, it's a lot, man.
But I think they're kind of alluding to it too, with like the other kids. Like, why would you hang out with this guy? The only reason why they would hang out is drugs, right?
Right.
That's the only reason.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, that Belch kid, the one that gets killed by Pennywise, he's very much like, he's kind of just high, right?
Right.
Like, I think
That's
I thought that's what they were alluding to, but maybe not. But even that, like, he goes after them indiscriminately. Pennywise, I mean, goes after them indiscriminately, like them.
Speaking
like
of
the other kids.
Clowns, here's
fucking ice cream truck.
Some great music to frame with this clown
Ice cream
story.
truck. Yo, let me get a screwball.
Screwball. Fucking whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, that is, for the most part, these are our characters.
Yeah, it's the characters.
Right. These kids that we've been talking about in both films are going through their own individual trauma with this bully. They now have this extra element of this like shape-shifting clown thing.
Yes.
That now that we know all their fears, whether it's Bill, his brother's dead. Eddie, his mother's overbearing. That messes with him.
Richie's gay? I don't know.
Richie's gay or whatever. Who cares? I guess.
I guess he's afraid of that. I don't know.
You know, the black kid, he's black.
Black kid's black.
That's Mike's thing. The chick has probably one of the worst lives out of
Yes.
all of them. Beverly Marsh. Like, there's our cast of characters. And because
Stan's Jewish.
Yeah, Stanley's Jewish, and that's, we all know why that's a problem.
1969.
So, hey, I didn't do
They
it.
didn't forget then.
I didn't do it. Jesus. Yeah, I think that both films, in their own way, do a good job of making this crew feel like good friends that are going to look out for each other.
Yes.
I think 2017 does it quickly, succinctly, and honestly, like I was telling you, my biggest beef is just how much trauma you have to go through. I would like some more, 80s Breakfast Club shit.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm fine with the grit.
Mm-hmm.
I like the grit, but it's like, because, I look back on things, you're like, that was fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, when you look back on that, yeah, it's fucked up. Like, even just, like, the slight things of them, like, the things that are, like, that are, like, wholesome in the movie, that they go swimming in the reservoir. It's
Sure.
like, but that's when they all basically, like, have a sexual awakening of, like, oh, there's a woman here.
Right.
Like, oh, what's going on?
Right. But like that makes sense.
Yeah. But then she just, everything with, like, the cattiness of other girls when they take, like, the toilet.
Right, right. The trash.
In the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so gross, by the way. That makes me, like, almost vomit.
Yeah.
They dump it on her, and it's, like, the toilet paper and all just the shit. Oh, God, it's so fucking gross.
We didn't talk about this, like Emily Perkins in 1990 versus, like, Sophia Lillis. She's so capable and tough in 2017.
Yeah.
And, like, it's a good character trait for her. So, like, if like, in the 90s film, they want Beverly Marsh to be the one to take it out, like, it makes so much more sense.
Much more sense.
In 2017.
Yeah.
Like, she's one of the most competent people.
That's true.
In the story. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, that actress had to do so much, and I mean, she pulls it off.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things that they do. Well, first of all, that there's at least one female writer in It Chapter 1
Mm-hmm.
that her character not only is much more fleshed out, but that girl would hang out with those guys.
Yeah.
Whereas this other one is like, no, she wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, why is she there? Who's she? Who cares?
Right. It's like, okay, your dad's a janitor. I
Yeah,
guess.
his dad's the janitor. Okay, you gotta clean up blood. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Why are you here?
I don't get it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. She would never. Never,
No,
that's what I mean.
no.
Never in a million years.
Why would you? There's no point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are characters. We're basically, at this point, we're at the end, right? Like, here's all their trauma.
Yeah.
The bully is continuing his bullying. Bill? Yeah. Bill's trying to figure out what happened to his brother. Like, he's not convinced his brother's still alive. Which, by the way, I wanted to bring this up. I could imagine in 1990 that maybe Georgie could be potentially alive. There is no reason in 2017 to think that Georgie is still alive. So that part's a little confusing. But I guess Bill's not aware of what happened to his brother like we as the audience do.
Yeah.
There's enough plausibility in 1990 that he could have been alive.
Yeah, I guess.
But I guess going into this, when we finally have this like confrontation with Pennywise in both films, like how do you feel that like this ending when they have this standoff in the Barrens?
They're both dog shit, man. They're both dog shit.
Yeah.
And it's so. It's more like. I kind of like the way they. It's the way they do it in like this in 1990.
Yeah, the miniseries.
I like it. So like the whole thing in the book is that why he's doing this is so that he could eat and basically hibernate for another 17 years, so he could go to sleep and be really full.
Right.
And kind of in the miniseries when Tim Curry it's like, oh, this is battery acid, you slime. It's stupid.
Right.
That's really stupid. But it's like, how does that work? Why would he be like, oh, God, you got me? Like, oh, melting out of nowhere. I kind of took that as, fuck it, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not dealing with these fucking kids anymore.
Right.
Like, I'm just leaving, I'm going to sleep.
Sure.
I'm not dealing. Whereas, like,
Too much
the other
trouble.
one, yeah, he's like, well, it's not worth the trouble. I already ate a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good. I'm good for 17 years. But the other one, he legitimately gets beat.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of give him like an Office Space moment.
Yeah.
They started like
Yeah.
laying into him.
Like, Dom, motherfucking Dom!
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's beat.
Yeah.
Beat, impaled, like...
And the whole first, I loved what they did with the kid, with Georgie.
Mm-hmm.
That they make him have to shoot Georgie in the head.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that was strong.
That was really, like, it's, because as an audience member, you're like, oh, that's so fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, that's, even though you know it's this demon clown, you're like, oh, God, you gotta kill this 8-year-old kid.
Yeah, there's this, like, resolution. I think because it is a standalone film.
Yeah.
They're trying to, like, wrap it as its own story.
Yes.
Which I think they pull off, but it makes, to your point, it's harder to then, like, dive back in. Because, like, hitting a clown for slingshot and then just kind of disappearing
Yeah.
leaves this idea that if it comes back, we'll deal with it. In 2017, why would you ever think, we fucked that guy
We fucked that guy up. Let's go.
We did it. Losers Club.
Losers Club, son.
Yeah. I mean, I think that obviously the visuals are stronger. I guess this ending, in the sense of how they do it, is stronger. But it doesn't...
The finality of the way they do it is so much better. Like, it's almost like that should have been the ending of the second one.
Yeah. I agree. Like, if you're going to do that, like, why just fuck him up as a kid? Why don't you do it again?
Yeah, just do the same thing.
It's a good payoff. I mean, like, you know, I don't know. Like, 1990 just has that, like you mentioned, the Stand By Me. It feels like Stand By Me. Like, we shot it with a slingshot.
And it disappeared.
Yep.
Okay.
Richie went on to be a...
Yeah.
Like, that's literally what part 2 is. Like they went on to, you know, be a stand-up comedian.
Or whatever Richie is.
Yeah. Like,
Harry Anderson.
I don't know. It's hard to compare these two because 1990 is going to continue the story, like, outright.
Yeah. But I guess I think we could talk about a comparison initially.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. I think you're right. The finale is almost like too strong in 2017 because it feels final.
Yeah, they won.
It's been done. 1990.
He's fucking dead. Like
slingshot. Yeah, all right. There's this
slingshot. Then they put a bullet through his head. Henry Bowers is also dead.
Right.
Like he is dead.
Mm-hmm.
They pull him down like they're in the well, and he fucking pulls him down into the well. He falls. After 5 stories. Right. You're dead.
Yes. Yeah. The whole thing.
Also, he's like 15, 16. At the very least, even if you didn't pin the Pennywise killings on him, he is being tried as an adult. For his father, at the very least.
For his father, especially his father's a cop. The cops react so viscerally to him killing his father, who is a cop.
Yes.
Like,
they would.
You're cuffing the kid, and one of them decks him so fucking hard.
Yeah.
He like lays him out. And I'm like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Like, here's my problem with 2017. You want to do all this horrific shit to the Henry Bowers character? I think you've got so much runway to do it. Like,
yeah.
Go ahead. I don't give a fuck. But the people they choose to fuck with are like the nicest kids in town.
Yeah. Of course.
Like, not like this cutesy 1990s, like, like I said, the shower's messed up. We're like, I am reintroducing you to the trauma of your father sexually assaulting you. Like that, that's heavy.
I'll tell you what, though, if it did want to creep me out as a kid, it would probably be watching me in the shower.
Yeah.
I was weirded out enough when I was a kid. Like, in the shower, like, I was like, fucking, I hated showering. Like,
the voice coming out of the drain and all that.
That was cool, though.
Yeah.
When they pushed it, he, like, pushes it out of the way.
That was cool.
Yeah.
No, I think that a lot of, obviously 2017 has more of a CGI budget, clearly. But I think a lot of the practical effects.
Oh, dude, I do think the practical effect of Belch going into the pipe when he bends down like that, like the hot dog style, and it goes in, I was like, that's pretty cool.
I think that, to me, is actually what is strong about the 1990 ending is the fact that clearly they're putting a lot of their budget in this scene.
Yes.
So, like, the movie, at least this first half, has now elevated to the point where, okay, we're going to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, you get to see all these great effects.
That's all the more reason of what I'm saying about the budget being just Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I think Tim Curry is so good
Yeah.
in this movie. It's like, he doesn't, like, Skarsgård has his fucking head open up, and, like, he's got, like, these rows of teeth, and he's like, like, trying to eat them. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, that's creepy, but they don't have any of that. And this guy, granted, you got to work with the movie you're making.
Sure.
It's Tim Curry's creepier without any of it.
Right.
And he's better, and he's more charismatic, and all the, like, he would be that guy. And just like when they're flipping through, they have like and as creepy as it is, the comparison, I guess, you can only compare the photographs. That in one scene they're looking at slides Bill is showing them in their living room,
Right.
that his mom's hair is blowing, and it covers her face, and then when the wind blows back, it's Pennywise.
Right.
And you're like, oh, it's scary, and he's like, and kind of like has this goofy look, and then becomes huge, and like comes out of the picture. And then you look at that, and you're like, well, what are the parameters of this guy?
Right.
Can he just be that monster all the time?
Right.
Like, why would you be normal size? But meanwhile, when they look at him in the picture in the 1990 version, they're looking at the picture of the old time fair, and like he's dancing around in the picture.
I think
that's so much creepier.
I agree.
That it's an old timey, he's like climbing on the. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
And
like,
talking to them through the picture.
Yeah. I thought that was phenomenal. That's one of my favorite scenes. Him like on the like light post.
Yes.
Talking to them is so strong.
And you'll float too. You'll float too. And I sort of got if the sound department, you had the sound department from It Chapter 1 and put it into It, the miniseries, it would have been 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
I think with the jump scares, the way they do it, and like it would have been so much better.
I think obviously the problem with the 1990 film is it's made for TV.
Yeah.
If you gave that entire storyline with Tim Curry, you gave more budget for some of the adult actors.
Yeah.
With that, and for some of the scenes, I mean, honestly, the practical effects I thought were still fine.
It's not good.
I didn't have any problem with them, and I tend to prefer some of that stuff over a lot of CGI.
Yeah.
What bugged me a lot about this remake is that it felt like it's not because they have more elements, but it felt like a generic horror film.
It did a little bit.
Jump scares, the lighting was very much like a horror film, and I like this sort of character analysis or study that you see in 1990, and it works sometimes, it doesn't work other times. I think 2017 has some good character work, but like they're leaning so far into this like CGI terror that it takes me out of some of the scenes.
I don't get me wrong, some of them I do think it works in like 1,000 the ways better. Like when he's twisting coming out of the thing, that is so creepy.
Very good.
And just it's so unnatural, and like it plays on your instinctual creepiness.
Yeah.
Like that's so unnatural that a body would move that way. That it's like even on like a primordial level you feel it. Like you're like, oh god. But it's all I see all that stuff, and that's why I give all the more credit to Tim Curry.
Sure.
That he does so much more with less, and it's so much more impressive. And he's a national treasure anyway. What nation? It doesn't matter. It could be fucking America, Great Britain. It doesn't matter. But he's so good in that. I genuinely
Picture Show, Nigel Thornberry.
And the only other thing that I love in the end of It Chapter 1 of the miniseries in 1990 is how it ends, that they basically calls back, because Mike found a picture of Georgie at the crime scene in Derry, now that they're all these kids are disappearing. At one of the crime scenes finds the picture of the kid. So he calls everybody and basically like, you guys all need to come back to Derry, and sets up, because they already knew that this is a miniseries.
Right.
And it ends with Stan like getting the news and immediately going to kill himself. And that's how it ends. You're like, oh, I got to see what the fuck happens now.
Right.
But overall, the remake is better in every way except Tim Curry and the ending to it.
Sure.
I think.
So, by your assessment, should this remake exist?
Yes. Yes, it should. But it's... Yes, I do. Because I do think, like, especially when I watch the remake now, as much as I, like, loved it when I was a kid and it scared me, it's really not. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's pretty stupid when you watch it now. And it really should have been redone. And I think they did a pretty goddamn good job. I don't think it was bad.
Yeah. I think that if there was a way, and this is not taking away from Skarsgård, because I think he does an amazing job of, like, taking an iconic horror character, making it his own, putting his own spin on it, and it works a lot.
Yeah.
It works more than it doesn't work, I'll put it that way.
Yes.
Like, if there was a way to do that film with Tim Curry.
Oh my god. That's a fucking movie I want to
like,
watch.
that's the movie I want to watch.
That is what I want to watch.
Because that type of psychological horror, I prefer to this, like, just outright evil. Before talking to you, because I think I got a lot more appreciation for this new cast after talking to you. Like, I was kind of like, who are these fucking kids?
Yeah.
And then thinking about some of these performances that you were saying, and, like, the level of what Ben did and what Beverly did, like, I thought that those kids knocked it out of the park. You gave me a much more of an appreciation for what Richie did in his first film.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge horror guy, so, like, would I remake this film into, like, sort of the pure horror that they kind of lean more towards? I don't know about that, but I think for a modern audience it makes a lot of sense to do it this way. It was really well done. The acting from the kids, which is consistent between both. The acting from the kids is very strong.
Yeah.
In both films.
And much more rounded characters, though, in the second one.
I agree.
The characters are so much more rounded.
I think because they were able to tell this story, well, they got two parts, but, like, they were able to tell the kid's story pretty succinctly. It felt like the pacing was good, and we weren't bogged down by some really rough scenes that you get in the docuseries. You don't need to spend 20 minutes with each kid. Like, here are the kids, here's what their deal is.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I originally wasn't coming here to say quite this in, like, a full-throated way, but, like, no, this remake should exist. Not my favorite tonally.
No.
I think that part's a little rough for me. But visually and what they're able to do with the writing, which is, let's call it, it's better. The writing's much better in 2017. Yeah, it should exist because I think it's going to allow people to get another chance to explore this this story. But I think losing Tim Curry is a tough.
It's a
tough loss.
Tough loss for sure. He's definitely the MVP of the original, both in the first one and the second one. Yeah. The first part and the second part. He's by far the best part.
It hurts me to say that because Skarsgård was very strong.
He's very good. It's just, come on, man.
It's Tim Curry.
It's
man.
like you're talking about, I don't know.
Well, with so much less.
Yeah, it's so much. Yeah, he does. But when he is, it's so much more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's
fact
not trying to be creepy. He just is.
Right.
Like
right.
he just is what it is.
That
like,
casting choice was made this entire thing because if it's someone else, if it's like
that movie's fucking sucks.
It's one of the worst movies of all time.
Yeah, it's the worst if it's not him.
Tim Curry just
chews up the scenery, knows what it is, and like that guy would because your reality means nothing to this being.
Right.
Like I'm gonna do that.
Joke.
I'm a joke.
It's a cosmic joke.
Yeah, it's a cosmic joke. I'm evil.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like I don't care.
Yep. I'm from the old time. Your kids, I don't give a fuck.
I don't care. I'm gonna kill their kids. I'm gonna kill your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah. 2017, pretty strong remake of this subject. I enjoyed it, even though there's some parts I didn't enjoy. Like while watching it, upon further reflection, I enjoyed the film.
Yes,
it should exist.
Yes, and then in the upcoming episode, we will do part 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that being said, you can follow us on we're on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff.
Yeah.
This has been another episode of Retro vs. Remake. I'm Reggie Parker.
I'm Dan Farley. You can find me at Dan Farley18 on Instagram.
You can find me at RP Comedy on Instagram.
And thank you so much.
That's it.
And we all float down here.
Thanks, guys.